Today, we become legends.
With so many gods in Smite's roster, it's only natural that some of them fit together like jigsaw pieces and combo excellently. This topic was a pretty highly requested one for me to cover, and I personally love exploring this area and aspect of Smite in terms of what's possible with all these nice combos and stuff like that, so let's jump in. But first, a word from our sponsor, the web browser built specifically for gamers, Opera GX and GX Mobile. Here's two of my favourite unique features that Opera brings to the table over a traditional web browser. Number one, GX Control. This system allows you to set custom limits for processing power, RAM usage, and network usage, so you'll never again have your browser interrupt your gaming experience with unwanted lag. And number two, for those moving from a traditional web browser to Opera GX, there's the quick import tool, which allows you to quickly import all of your settings from your previous browser, making the transition super easy. So what are you waiting for? Join the gamer revolution today and give your PC or mobile the browser it deserves. Hit the link in the description to join up. So first up on the list we have a true classic, that being Odin and Cupid. While these two do have a bit of synergy in their base kits, like Odin easily being able to stun set up Cupid's heart bomb and Cupid's ult being able to cripple enemies, preventing them from jumping away from Odin's deadly bird bomb, the real combo here is in both their ultimates. Being the exact same radius, Cupid ult will cover the entirety of Odin's cage perfectly and nullifies one of the only counters to Odin's cage in enemy jumps. Of course, enemies can still phantom shell or break the walls with basic attacks, but breaking the walls is often quite impractical, and especially with the Cupid wailing on you, you're likely to die before escaping that way. So that basically just leaves Phantom Shell as your only escape from this deadly ult combo. Quick mention that this of course works with other large AoE deadly ultimates like Zeus's Lightning Storm or Huyi's Sunbreaker, but the cherry on top with Cupid is that it cripples those enemies, preventing their escape. Next up we have Knox Thor, who are a multifaceted duo that have synergies in several different areas. First off, we have the obvious ICBM combo, where Knox dashes into an ulting Thor, essentially giving her semi-global mobility as well for free, and adding extra damage to Thor's already deadly combos after his ult lands, with Knox popping out. And if somehow the enemy isn't dead after all of that, Knox can of course drop her own deadly combo on top of Thor's damage. Which brings me to the next synergy these two have, and that's Knox combo confirming really easily off of Thor's stun into double tap. Since Knox's 1 and 2 are both persistent CCs, they aren't affected by DR, so doing this combo after Thor's stun has no downside and is almost impossible to miss given the enemy is stunned. Thor's wall plus double tap does 740 plus 120% physical power, while Knox's 2 plus 1 combo deals 650 plus 180% magical power. With both combined, that's more than enough to straight up one-shot a backliner in the late game if they don't have beads, and will hit super hard early on as well. If your beads are on cooldown, you better watch out for these two, because one Thor wall could mean your death. Super strong god combo. Next up we have one that will surprise no one, and is probably the combo many of you thought of when you saw the video in the recommended, that's Ares Scylla. Or basically Ares and any huge AoE mage ultimate. Now the reason I picked Scylla for the list over things like Cuckoo, Ra, Thoth, etc. is that as long as Scylla kills even one of the enemies pulled by Ares, she gets a reset and can keep firing her ridiculous damage ult to clean up any stragglers. Scylla's ult in the late game already does over 50% of a backliner's health, so if you get hit by the initial strike and you don't even die but she kills one of your teammates, she can hit you with another. At that point you're almost certainly dead if you don't have Aegis. Or of course beads to prevent the Ares pull in the first place. While there are other minor synergies like Ares Cripple being good setup for Scylla's huge damage, these two are mainly on the list for that insane ult combo. Smite, the game where angry warmongers breathing fire from their shield make an excellent team with a tentacle child. So this next one is a little less obvious, but in my opinion a very underrated combo, and that's Mercury Janus. I still remember being destroyed by this combo back in Season 8 Ranked, and it opened my eyes to the synergies these two have. Now the first and most obvious one is their mobility. Mercury can already ult up half a lane or through half the jungle with the right angle, but Janus takes that into overdrive by being able to transport Mercury, and the rest of his team of course, across half the map using through space and time. As well as just regular portals being very useful as well. But speaking of portal, this is yet another synergy these two have. Though this one does require good communication or just knowledge of how your Mercury plays in general, but when Merc hits his dash on an enemy, he can tell Janus the direction he'll throw the enemy, and Janus can place a portal ready to collect that enemy into a deadly CC chain that often results in death for the one unfortunate enough to be hit by Merc dash with no beads. This is somewhat similar to Knox Thor but on a smaller scale. Portal is also just a nice low risk way to set up Merc ult too. Rather than just trying to hit it raw and potentially wasting it, Merc can wait for a Janus to land a portal, which is a much lower cooldown and less committal ability to start the combo, and just confirm his ult straight off of that. Oh, and one final nice boost, the threshold and portal movement speed is really nice for Merc given his passive converting some of that to power and charging up his one punch faster. Next up we have a true classic and probably the most iconic god combo in the game despite them being arch enemies in the lore, that is of course Athena Medusa. Could this list really exist without this duo lane pair? While they have some small base kit synergies like Medusa being able to root enemies into the second hit of Athena's shield wall, we all know the reason for these two working so well together. Medusa's deadly ultimate stuns enemies looking at her, and Athena can force enemies to look at her using her taunt, granting a free, albeit somewhat DR'd stun and some insane damage to boot. I've talked about this one already in my duo lane combos video, that will be linked below, so I won't spend too long on them here. I think everyone knows why these two are on the list. Speaking of duo lane combos though, next up we have the ultimate pressure duo lane, Izanami Sylvanas. Ishtar also works in a similar way for this, but Izanami has that amazing wave clear through basic attacks at all times, rather than just for 6 seconds like Ishtar. Plus, Izanami hits the whole wave, whereas Ishtar can only do so if they're manually grouped up, otherwise she's just hitting 3 minions at once with her AoE shot. The basic idea of this combo is not in certain abilities as it is in their core game plan. Dominate the early laning phase through by far the best wave clear there is in both of their categories for the first few levels, and snowball that into a huge lead. Of course, Sylvanas has many ways to set up Izanami's terrifying but sometimes hard to hit ultimate in his root, pull, and his own ult, but the main idea behind this combo is that crazy lane pressure and early game dominance. Literally no one will outpressure this combo early on when played right, and that pressure can translate into a very fed ADC and even a fed support, which, while less scary, is still a force to be reckoned with early on. Taking a break from the duo lane though, let's look at a mid-jungle oriented combo in Hebo Awilix. This is another one that would work with a few different picks, and I'm by no means suggesting that Vulcan Awilix, Bacchus Awilix, Sobek Awilix, etc. are bad combos, but I find Hebo to be one of the best Awilix partners that there is. Firstly, because he's often a mid laner, which allows him to utilize his synergy with a jungle Awilix from the get-go, rather than being stuck in a role that doesn't interact with the jungler much early on. Mid laners and junglers with synergy are always going to be able to display that synergy at its fullest. And boy do Hebo and Awilix have that strong synergy, with Hebo's instant near unmissable knockup with great height for an easy free Awilix pull into death from the rest of their kits. Hebo simply has the most reliable and easy pull from knockup due to its range, instant activation, and height, that it just feels so nice to use with Awilix. Plus, Hebo is known for his disgusting burst damage that can be used to follow up after the pull, pretty much guaranteeing that enemy dies if they don't beat the Awilix ult in time. Super deadly combo. Next up we have the Morrigan with Ratatoska, or really any global or semi-global ultimate user. I personally find Rat to be the most fun and successful with this, but Thor, Thanatos, and a few others work as well. Of course, the idea behind this one is to transform into Rat and double drop into a fight from across the map, with that added bonus that his ultimate will knock up, which won't DR. Whereas others like Thor's stun, if you're doing 2 of those, they will DR each other. However, Rat's Acorn Blast stun afterwards will be heavily DR because of the true hard CCs, but not much can be done about that. This combo allows for some insane ganks out of absolutely nowhere. Most people are prepared for a jungle gank, but preparing for a mid and jungle gank that can also jump over wards and get there in 3 seconds flat is pretty much impossible to effectively deal with. Now that's a prospect that every side laner should fear. Back to duo lane now though, with a perhaps not too strong but very fun combo, and that's Anhur Ymir. With of course Ymir's wall being target practice for Anhur's Impale Stun and making it much easier to land compared to Anhur's usual Pillar Impale combo. These two also just have similar game plans of early aggression in the lane, and Ymir's freeze is great setup for Anhur's ultimate, which if all 8 spears land does some of the highest damage in the game early on. Anhur can also help out with Ymir's ult connecting by using his shifting sands and pillar in combination with Ymir's wall for some makeshift caging capabilities. These two have a lot of small synergies that, combined with the hilarious free Impale Stun on Ymir's wall, make for a really fun early aggression duo lane. And our final combo is one of the most iconic on the list, that being Afro Cali, an absolutely deadly late game combination that if left unchecked and un-anti-healed can win a game on their own. Cali alone is capable of winning teamfights pretty much alone with her heal resets and complete immunity to death, but add in Afro heals and another complete immunity into the mix and Cali becomes damn near unstoppable, especially if the enemy team weren't smart enough to get 100% anti-heal to deal with this combo. Cali is the strongest hyper carry in the late game, and pairing her with the supportive aspects Aphrodite brings to the table makes her all the more deadly. It's also worth noting that Khepri works in a similar way in that he can revive Cali, meaning she can go deeper than she usually would, since she can fall back on the res, but overall I think Afro's ult is better for this purpose as Cali can keep fighting and keep the aggression up throughout the ultimate, and Afro's 2 can also provide some extra damage around Cali to get enemies in target kill range. But that's all I've got for 10 awesome god synergy combos in Smite. Which one was your favourite? For me it has to be either Afro Cali or Knox Thor. Let me know down below, and even drop your own god combos if they weren't on the list, and I'll catch you guys with another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out you nerds.